How's those, boys? Hey, welcome back to Articulate. It's me, your buddy Steve. How's it going? This week, I had a good time connecting with my old professor, Thom, which is funny, because there was another guy named Thom on last week. It's not that funny, but it's kind of funny. Anyways, it was Thom and these two new people that I just met when I walked in the door. Of course, Thom was like, hey, these are my friends. Do you mind if they're on the podcast too? And I was completely, yeah, of course. I mean, the more people, the more the merrier, obviously. But, Thom Stevenson, my old professor, Mercedes George, and Joel Laufman. So, yeah, you get to hear, they're kind of a teacher's take and perspective on what's kind of going on right now with the whole online learning thing, and a little bit more into the psychology of it and, how it affects, and Mercedes is a student as well as the general manager of this place, and they talk about their Ornery Vets project, what they're putting together, which I think is a really cool concept. So just an overall good conversation between a diverse group of individuals. I don't know, it's a fun episode, and they're all characters, and it's a good time. Anyways, I hope you enjoy it. So here we go. All right. Welcome to Articulate with Steve and Jones. Welcome, everybody. Here we have three individuals who are all helping together to put a cafe in Athens, Ohio together called Ornery Vets Cafe. And we can get into that a little bit. If each of you would like to introduce yourself to the audience, that'd be amazing. We can start with you, Thom, if that's all right with you.
So my name is Thom Stevenson, and I'm assistant professor of instruction in the Patton College at Ohio University, and I'm working as the chef and kind of one of the board members of this project.
Sure.
And I'm Mercedes George. I'm actually still a senior at Ohio University and the to-be general manager of Ornery Vets Cafe, one of the Ornery Vets. So.
All right, and Joel?
And I'm Joel Laufman, the other Ornery Vet.
The Ornery Vet.
The Ornery Vet.
Yeah.
He's understating what he's done in this space.
Right. Mercedes, what's your background a little bit more?
So I am from Athens, my hometown.
Sure.
And I left home at 18 to join the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to get that challenge, see if I could do what all the big boys do. And I was in the Marine Corps for about 6 years, and then I decided that it was time for me to come back home and pursue other opportunities.
Yeah.
So I started going to school over here at OU, and I decided to do the BSS program rather than a prescribed degree program, which is where I met Thom, because he had to be my faculty signature on said paperwork.
Sure.
And in that nerve-wracking meeting that I had, that I get a little nervous. My hands sweat every time I talk about it, every time I think back to it. Because I thought, everything I'd worked for a year, everything I'd worked for, it was all on the line. It all depended on this signature. And I went in super nervous, and he said, there's this project, you've told me about your passion, you've told me everything you want to do. There's this project, there's a couple people I want you to meet. Yeah. And 2 days later, I met Joel over at Passion Works with Patty, and I say every time it's been serendipitous ever since.
Yeah.
We've been quite the
So
he
team. Put you at ease in the interview, hopefully.
Yes, at the very end. I stopped sweating, and I was like, okay, everything's going to be okay.
It's funny, serendipitous is a funny word, because Thom and I actually talk about that stuff all the time, and how things just kind of line up. And it's funny that you felt, Thom kind of makes that serendipity happen, which is funny.
Well, I try. So at the end of the day, you have to have somebody who kind of spearheads it. So Joel, you want to talk a little bit about your background?
Well, I got down here in 71.
In Athens?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
After the Army.
Okay.
I got out in 70, came down here in 71 and went to school and graduated and taught school in this area at Alexander Schools for 35 years.
What type of school?
Well, I started out 5th and 6th grade, and then I moved to 7th and 8th grade, and then I moved to 9th and 10th grade, and I moved to seniors, and I spent 10 years with seniors.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite
Yeah, the seniors.
Seniors. That's what I would have thought too.
Rumor has it he used to hand out a postcard that had a Harley Davidson on it.
Yeah, I had all kinds of things like that. Trying to get the kids to understand who I was, and
Yeah.
in that community, various different triggers are very helpful.
Yeah.
So.
Like, would you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Well, like the Harley Davidson aspect is important to a lot of kids. Trucks and mechanics are important to a lot of kids. Family, babies, so on and so forth are important, and you have to be able to realize what the community feels is important to them, and then work your magic.
Right.
But you have to have a basis for that.
Right.
So it
And
took
accentuate
a
those
little while.
values a little bit
Yeah.
and kind of connect on that. Yeah, I get
And
that.
hard work and farming and patriotism and so on. Those are all values of the Alexander schools, or at least as I saw it. And so we would discuss things such as that. We had open discussions and political discussions, especially with the seniors. And
Oh, yeah.
I had a great time. I never went to work. I just went to school.
Right. Well, it's kind of
And
fun.
I just had a great time.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fun. Like, I mean, I'm 3 years removed from high school now, but kind of discovering political conversation was like a realization in itself. It was like something that I had to stumble upon. So that's cool. Like, I probably didn't start talking about stuff like that until maybe my freshman or sophomore year of college. But to be able to do that openly with seniors is that's cool. I think.
Well, I also taught a class called Street Law.
Street law.
Yeah, which was highly attended. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of kids that the police probably weren't real appreciative of after they took the class. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it would really have a place nowadays.
Oh yeah. What's the basis of street law?
Well, it was just to demonstrate to kids how to deal with the police and how to understand the law. And we had a section on torts and criminal law and so on and so forth. And the kids then, I took them to prison one day.
Oh really?
We went up to the prison and...
Scared them straight?
Yeah.
That boss says everything.
Yeah, there was... It was very interesting. Yeah, one of the tough... these cons read people just like that.
Oh, yeah.
You walk in and boom, they know who you are.
Wow.
And there were a couple of tough kids, and one of these guys looked like he spent his life in the gym. Mm-hmm. Big, huge biceps, and short guy. And everybody gave him some deference. It was like they just kind of stayed back from him.
Sure.
The other cons.
Right.
And he saw this one kid talking while he was talking. Mm-hmm. And he kind of, he didn't say anything initially. He just looked up at him and winked.
Oh no. And that was enough.
That just shut him down instantly.
Yeah.
It was a lesson in class control. There's all kinds of different ways that
that's
kids
interesting.
respond.
So, like the within the prison, how do you think they are so good at nailing people down like that, finding personalities and?
Well, it's their job.
Yeah.
It's life or death. If you can't read people,
then you might
pick the wrong guy and you're dead. It's not a game for them.
Right. And
like it is in high school. It's a game in high school, but in prison, it's real life.
Yeah, and real life outside of high school and college too.
Well, that's true too, I guess.
Those kids probably took a lot and are able to apply what they learned.
And we had a mock trial team.
Yeah.
That we did mock trial for 6 years, and every year we went to state.
Oh wow.
Beat everybody else in the county.
Wow.
So
yeah.
We had good advisors and.
No, it sounds like it was a really good experience.
Pretty outstanding teacher.
All right, yeah. So who's the better teacher, you or Thom?
Oh, Thom can have
No, I'm just kidding.
He's still doing it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I retired.
I'm not competing with other teachers. I'm competing with myself.
Yeah,
There you
of
go.
course,
That's-
How do
yeah.
I make myself better?
Yeah.
What
That's
can
a
I
good
do?
answer.
What can I do? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have as many years of experience as he does.
Yeah.
Well, so what experience do you have, Thom, if you wouldn't mind, brushing us up a little bit?
So oddly enough, I reconnected with a high school friend of mine, or actually she was my 5th grade girlfriend in
Oh,
camp.
wow.
And she told me, she said, you know what, when you were a kid, all you ever wanted to be was a teacher. And I had forgotten about it for a long time.
Really?
And then when I went into hospitality and did that for 30 years, in 2009, I said, you know what, I think I have something to offer as an educator. And so I went back to school.
Yeah.
And then that's what I do now, and I love every single minute of it. I love Joel's comment a minute ago about where he said it's like I just go to school every day. That's how I feel when I go to class. Like I can feel the excitement happening as I'm driving from Columbus to here.
Oh, really?
The closer I get, the more excited I get about it, and I just breathe in different air. And I walk in the classroom, and I think, it's wild. Like we have such a short time span to make such a impressionable difference in somebody's life in college, and we're asked to do a lot of different things. You talked about how the civic responsibility and the things that you learned when you were a freshman and sophomore in college.
Yeah.
I mean, for the federal government knows it. That's why they created the GI Bill. They actually created the GI Bill to give veterans an opportunity kind of to have a cooling off period from when they went from one thing to the other. That's what research says. And so I just, a university is a place where it helps keep me young. I love every single second of it.
Yeah.
I love being a teacher.
Have you faced any challenges recently that you've noticed that have helped you grow a lot?
The Ornery Vets Cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that anytime you do something in the community, the university has all kinds of rules, regulations, and restrictions. They do it for safety and best, practice and to support theories. But, the cafe is a great example of working in the community, and that's different. It has a different feel. It has a different responsibility. And so how do you do that in a respectful way? I guess the biggest challenge right now for me is COVID, just because you have one set way of going about things, and then COVID comes along, and then you have to do it differently.
Entirely.
So entirely. COVID just changed the rules, Yeah. I'm not used to sitting in front of a screen 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of guy either. I don't really like it.
Right.
So, but it's important because some professors just put all their information online and they say just do the work, where I need to see students. I need to talk to them. I need to know that they know that I'm their advocate. And so it's been a very different process for me. And the challenge is that how do I navigate that? So less driving, but more screen time. It's a little different.
Yeah. How has that changed in itself? Like the teaching and the responses from the students? Because like you and I, of course, in class it was a different dynamic,
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of I told you right after that, I'm a little bit of a different character in the classroom, and then we were able to establish that. Whereas I feel like if we were, if we hadn't known each other and then we get on online class together, it might be a lot different,
Well, Joel taught for a long time. I guess I don't know. I guess we could say that you learn who your students are. Mm-hmm. It was different for me. Like when I teach freshmen, I don't know who these students are. I've never seen them before. I don't know them. Yeah. I don't know what their wants are. I don't know how they communicate. But you and I, you're a little ornery. That's fine. And I'm typically really good with that, just because chefs are ornery people.
Yeah, definitely.
Chefs are nasty. They can be really ornery and crazy, and they can be nasty, and they can be fun, and they can be all those things in between. Mm-hmm. And so I always said they could say whatever they wanted as long as it wasn't in front of other people.
Yeah.
but it's a different time. I have to learn who these students are, so I'm using journal posts and blogging and that kind of stuff to figure out who they are and what they want. But just like working in the industry, just like this cafe, Mercedes will have to figure out who are her employees and what do they need to be successful.
Yeah.
And so because we say we're going to be here to support people, so we're gonna need to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah.
And figure out what they need, and not tell them what they need, because telling people what they need is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Because just like with students, like, you know, there's going to be a day when we're not standing beside you. So
Right.
It also creates walls.
yeah.
Walls like how?
Well, if you tell somebody to do something, or instead of suggesting it or allowing them the ability to choose, then it's yours, not theirs. And that creates a wall between you.
Yeah.
It makes it less easy to deal with you in the future, whomsoever you may be.
Yeah. Understand that. But then that leaves students that choose not to in a situation where they need a different type of help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just a whole new, entire set of
Well,
different challenges.
I think what Tom was referring to was a freshman comes to OU, they're coming from Cleveland, Chicago, who knows where. He has no knowledge of them whatsoever.
Right.
When I would get someone coming into my class, I had already seen them in the hallway for 4 years, said hi to them, gone to the basketball games, the football games, watched them perform. You know, there's all different kinds of ways I got to know kids before I had them in class.
Yeah.
That's a huge advantage.
Right.
I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Whereas Tom, it's, there they are.
There they are.
Well, and that's the challenge with online learning in general. It's like
Oh,
you don't see nonverbal cues. You don't get a chance to like see, you know, what makes them have aha moments. So you have to do a lot of work
Right.
in the beginning and the front end of it. So these last 3 weeks, like, you know, we're week 4 now.
Yeah.
So these last 3 weeks, I've really been spending a lot of time with these students, letting them know that, yes, you can call me, you can text me, you can FaceTime me, you can do whatever. And trying to get them to let them know that I'm a resource for them.
Sure.
And it's a challenge because, you know, I'm a very direct kind of guy. And so I just have to be, with this approach, they don't know me. They don't know my passion level. And it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can be a lot for people at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
After just coming back from a run, they look at me and they're like, what the heck is this person doing?
I had you at 9 o'clock in the morning a few times, I think, and I was a lot.
Yeah, I could be a lot at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I don't know. It did kind of help wake me up, though, too. And then you would always be very nice and allow us to brew coffee sometimes and get going.
And now you can come here and have coffee.
I can come.
Before you go on your way to see Mercedes, right?
Yeah, Mercedes. So have you been? You obviously got a book open right there. So what's your experience been with the classes so far?
Ooh, I am not fond of solely online classes. I think I'm definitely one of those students. I learn better when I'm actually there. Definitely. It's easier. You have more access, I would think, in that setting because it's easy to, you know, go to your classes and then come back and be like, oh, you know, I've got a question on this. You know, no big deal. Like I've got Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. I'll go in on Wednesday and try to get it understood.
Sure.
But in this sort of situation, you're really stuck between, you know, okay, well, I guess I can send my professor an email. You know, I'm a mother, so I have a 4-year-old, and it's not always easy for me to be like, okay, let me jump on this Zoom call with a professor and try to understand this material because I'm not really grasping it.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes it so much more difficult that way, I think. And it's just, you really lose that face-to-face bond that you can kind of get with your professors, and they kind of know you. The approach is different. It's not, you don't get lost in verbiage and everything.
It's a completely different environment,
it's
you know?
So different.
Because, like, you're at home, and to get out of that home mentality into a learning mentality
it's so much different.
Task.
It's so difficult because, you know, when you tell yourself, like, okay, I have to go to class. I have 3 classes today. I'm going to be on campus. You're in your zone. You're in your, I'm a student. I'm getting this done. But when I'm at home and I'm vegged out and I've been watching Netflix for the past 4 hours and I'm like, I really need to read this chapter in this book. And I'm like, one more episode and then I'll do it. You have to, I think students in this time have to have a different level of
discipline.
Yes, absolutely. Some discipline and dedication and really some stick-to-itiveness to really focus.
Well, we're in trouble then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, because this is something that I learned a lot in Tom's classes, you know, the habits that we form when we're younger, right? So what did you say, what's the statistic when you're 5 to 10 years old? a lot of the food that you eat at that period becomes comfort?
2 to 3.
2 to 3, okay.
At ages 2 to 3, students determine what their comfort food's going to be.
For the rest of the
So if you take a child who's eating baby food, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I want to encourage this child to eat regular food, and then you start giving them Oreos, for instance. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, well, Oreos are going to be something they want, right? Because it has sugar,
right?
And because it's chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And who doesn't like those two things? I guess some people don't like chocolate. I wouldn't be one of them. But the thing is that all of a sudden, but what they don't realize is that Oreos are filled with processed food,
right?
And they're not good for you, and they're really bad. So if you condition a child to think, this is what makes me happy around food,
mm-hmm.
then when they get older and they get more stressed out, that's the two things they use.
Right.
They use more processed food, and they use more sugar.
Mm-hmm.
And those things, that's why we as a country have more pre-diabetic, and we have more juvenile diabetes than we've ever had.
Right.
And obesity.
Yeah.
Which is causing issues with hypertension.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's the connection that I was kind of trying to make, is that like we need to start developing, self-discipline habits even a little bit more. And that's obviously we've always been trying to do that. But now, like you said, especially now that we have so much time at home and going forward into the future as, robots take over all our jobs and whatnot, there's going to be a lot more time, I think, spent doing your own things in your own time.
Oh, I agree. More than ever, you realize how little self-control you may or may not have.
Yeah.
Or, you think that you have this idea of, well, if this were my situation, this is how I would handle it. And you think that this is the way you do it. But now we're being forced to really take a hard look in the mirror and figure out, maybe this isn't as easy as I thought it would be for me to adjust to. So
Right.
I think it's a really big wake-up call.
Oh, yeah.
A huge example of that. So I will give students a project to do,
mm-hmm.
and I'll say in class, in my lecture, I'll say, I want you to do a presentation where you call 3 different catering companies in a different city that you want to be in, and do a competitive set, and get a copy of their menu, and look at these 3, the entree and the side and the dessert,
mm-hmm.
and do a price comparison across the 3, review their website, and I'll tell them this stuff, right, in lecture. And then they'll say to me, and I'll give them it in the syllabus, and they'll say, okay, where's the rubric? And I'm like, I just gave you all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll look at me and they'll say to me, they're like, but wait, what is the rubric? And I'll say to them, okay, I'm encouraging you to be creative.
Right.
So you provide it back to me. Well, what does a PowerPoint have to look like? It's 5 to 7 slides that include all that information. And they'll say to me, no, I need a rubric. And I'm like, okay, I'll just tell you, and this is the thing that I say inside my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're 1 year away from no one telling you from a rubric standpoint.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
1 year away from a general manager who's going to call you into the morning meeting at 9 o'clock and it's going to say, you know what, I need to know what people are doing around Christmas holiday parties in December. I need you to call around and figure out what people are charging, and I just did to you what a GM is going to do.
Yeah,
and what
but
you
where's
said,
the rubric for that?
Yeah, and what you said to me is, where's the rubric? And the general manager is going to say, this is not school, and you got to rethink. So
It's not high school.
Yeah, I mean, Kate.
That's where rubrics started,
Right.
was in grade school.
Yeah.
Even. It's absurd.
So
Kills creativity.
Yeah, I mean, I think we
Just
do a
like
great
that,
job
yeah.
in K through 12. Yeah.
Well, that's
Because-
that's what I was gonna say, is that these people aren't used to teachers saying, "Hey, here's a little box for you, something. Here's a little project."
Yeah.
But it's not those defined lines. It's nothing that you're not trapping them in that little rubric like you're talking about.
Yeah, I want to bring out what is the creative side of them, because the creative side of them is what makes them more competitive in the marketplace, and in our industry specifically. There's a lot of creativity in here. I love what PassionWorks does down there from a creative standpoint, and people are driven to it.
Mm-hmm. So what's
They love it.
PassionWorks?
So PassionWorks is the studio right down the way that has artists that provide and make. They make
These
art,
drawings.
These drawings, and they make PassionWorks flour and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And so it's really incredible to watch. But the thing is, students don't think that way, because in K through 12 they're trying to get them through this. I mean, they're only with them 11% of the time in K through 12.
Really?
So they have a very short amount of time to get them through a lot of information. They have standardized testing that says you have to learn these certain things. And nowadays we test them more than ever. So it's like you have to learn, you have to learn, you have to learn. So we teach to the test, which is very different. That wasn't so much, a short time ago, but now as we teach the test, most educators will say we test them way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Then when they get to college, it's like I ask them to be creative, and they look at me sometimes, not to be disrespectful, like deer in headlights.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, you got to tell me exactly what creativity looks like. And I'm like, I don't know what creativity looks like to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
where's the creativity rubric?
Yeah, that's what they'll say to me.
Yeah.
Like, what constitutes creativity? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like who's on first?
Yeah.
What's on second?
Yeah.
So the thing is, I can
Pretty
do a
crazy.
lot. As a freshman, I spent a lot of time with students trying to get them to understand that I'm trying to blur the lines. Mm-hmm. If you were put in a box that's like this, I'm trying to make the lines more blurry.
Yeah.
So, and blurry to me is creativity seeps in.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're this free thinking,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a time when you're not going to have somebody standing beside you telling you exactly how to do it.
Right.
And that's going to come really soon.
Oh, yeah.
And then, by the way, you're going to have student loans to pay. And then, by the way, you're going to have a mortgage. And then, by the way, you're going to be married and kids. And it goes fast.
So fun.
I mean, we got 3 different generations here. Like, it
Let
goes
me tell
really
you how
fast.
fast it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 72 now, and it seems like only yesterday that I was in the classroom. And before that, it seems like only yesterday that I was in the Army.
Oh, wow.
And it was 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time, bro.
Yeah.
The first time
Yeah.
he said his real age, the first time.
Wow, we caught it on recording, too.
I got you now.
Yeah.
Wow, there's some pretty authentic sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had
Let me tell you about the last time I was in jail.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm
Okay,
kidding.
all right. Let's go into it. But I actually just had this guy on last week who was 55 years old, and he was just talking about how crazy it is. Like he'd wake up one morning and then he'd be like, "Wait, I'm 35. No, wait, I'm 45." He'd be like, "No, wait, I'm actually like 52 today or something." Like it's his birthday or whatever.
I think the older you get, the faster it speeds up. It seems like to me.
Seems like it.
As I get older, like it goes quicker.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, wow, it's Friday already. I
Yeah.
don't know. It just really seems. And then it's like, then you start to think about, and that's the one thing that COVID did. There was a quote that I heard last week from a really good speaker on one of the things I was listening to, and his comment, what he said at the end of it, he said, "When the world seems like it stops, that's the best time to change it."
Oh, wow.
I love that quote because we know that there's some changes that need to happen.
Tell that to
And
the
so-
politicians.
I do love that quote though. I think that's a
Yeah.
really powerful quote.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like, we're just in a different time. So there were a lot of bad things that came out of COVID, the lives that were lost and the
Unemployment.
events and unemployment and what's happening to businesses and all that. But there was some other things that said to us, let's rethink about what's going on. And so,
Yeah.
but now it's time for it to go.
No,
You know what I mean? But I mean, there was an opportunity there, I think.
Yeah, I've had my self-examination time. I'd like
Yeah.
to move
Yeah.
on.
Now it's time. I'm just saying.
We've all taken that reflection period of the things we really took for granted, and now
Yeah.
we're ready to appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that's-
that's what I mean. It's
true.
time for it to go.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a valid point, though. There was a lot that we took for granted
Mm-hmm.
that is no longer available to us. And now we realize how important those social connections were that we no longer have.
A handshake.
You
I
can't
read-
shake hands.
I read this article that said some doctors are saying that we may not be able to shake hands for years. And
That's
so,
okay.
But they're all, so some people are coming up with their own handshake kind of symbol, like what you do. We always did the kitchen handshake in the kitchen where you do the elbows,
Yeah.
But some people are doing this. But it's so wild. It's like it almost seemed to me like it was like what happened after September 11th. Like after September 11th, like we no longer flew the same way.
Oh, wow.
Like you take your shoes off, you gotta
Yeah.
take your belt off, you gotta take everything out of your pockets, you can't have any liquids, you can't do any of that. And that all changed after like one event, like one day.
Well, there was also instant racism against the Arabic types,
community.
Yeah.
and the burqa and so on. Man, people would look at folks with a burqa like she's got an AK under there.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute now.
Wow. Yeah.
But
It's like
fear,
the China virus.
Yeah.
When you hear that kind of language, it's like, I mean, the world changes.
That's true.
And so there is a lot of similarities. Now, I mean, I'll never forget that day when I was right across from the state capitol in Columbus, and I saw all these people all of a sudden pick up their cell phones like this. And then we had the flight crew that stayed in the hotel when you're talking about hospitality.
Yeah, I was in
We
class.
had the U.S. Air flight crew an American airline flight crew that were actually they were supposed to be on that plane that went down.
Oh, wow.
And so they stayed with us for almost 2 weeks because they couldn't get a flight out.
Yeah.
And we took care of everything for them. We made all the food for them and took it up to their room. And the devastation, we brought counselors in to talk to them because they were supposed to be on that flight.
Oh, yeah.
And so, a chef colleague of mine, he was actually in the towers that day. So, and he works in Columbus now. And my cousins would have been on the train that day.
Man.
But they weren't on the train because the one son got sick, so they stayed home with Sam. Jimmy would have been on the train that day. So, the thing is, the world does change after events like this, and it will forever be changed after COVID.
Yeah.
So we just have to figure out, like, what does the new thing look like? And that's why places like this are really important.
Like Ornery
Vets. Because Ornery Vets will provide a social space for people, and we're going to need it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to need to be with other people.
Yeah.
That's the exciting thing too. I just read an article. They say that they predict that personality changes don't happen easily because we as humans tend to be creatures of habit. But they have, I think, 13 or 14 psychologists that predict that there will be mass personality changes as a result of COVID.
100%.
Just because it changes your view and how you move forward with everything. And I think that to me is the scariest part, just because I'm very extroverted. I'm out there traveling, going, getting to know people. Handshakes are very important to me personally.
Right.
That's how I seal, my bond with people. That's how I get to know someone. I feel like you can really read someone a lot through, shaking their hand and getting a chance to be intimate with them and talk to them.
Yeah.
And that's going to be difficult for people who are,
Definitely.
somewhat like me in that sense, extroverted and
Or hugs.
yeah, it changes.
people.
It changes so much, and that's the exciting thing about this space. Is my hope is we give a little bit of it back. It doesn't completely evaporate. It doesn't go away, and you don't have to forget about how normal and how natural and important that stuff is.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. Actually, I do stand-up comedy part-time, and I started writing jokes about the new type of handshake because you have to. It is like a gauge to see how the other person is going to respond to you a lot of the time. And so I thought like maybe dance moves would be a good one. Just come up and start doing like a quick dance move or like a basketball fake out or something.
It's an excellent substitution.
Yeah, or the clone thing where you see another clone and you put your like hand up. But anyways,
maybe we'll do a stand-up comedy night.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I would love to come around here because a lot of the stand-up has been shut down since they said maybe they were going to open things up.
It won't be next week.
Right. But eventually when things start clearing up a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I hope, I would love to come here when this place is open and popping, and you got all the Ornery Vets sitting around here drinking their coffee, and
That's what we're going to be doing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate y'all coming out and recording this with me. I know you weren't even expecting to be on it today, but
You want to get the address and stuff, Joel?
yeah, if you want to go ahead and
It's 30 East State,
30 East.
Athens, Ohio, 45701.
Sure. When's the official opening day?
Someday.
This Sunday?
Someday.
Someday. Oh, okay. Eventually.
We're hoping
October.
We're
October.
hoping October. So once we get the health permit done, and so we're getting really, really close now.
Definitely.
We're selling shirts.
All right. Yeah, I saw that.
We're waiting for the counter. That's what's holding us up. The counter's been ordered for quite some time.
Yeah, and that's very important.
You want to tell them what we're going to sell?
So as of now, we have T-shirts, which have been a really massive hit. We have T-shirts all over the country now. We have them all over the United States. We have them in Japan. We have them in Kuwait. People are really eating these T-shirts up quick.
There's Ornery Vets everywhere.
There's Ornery Vets everywhere supporting it. And then we have coffee mugs. As of now, we hope to expand the merchandise to hats, tumblers, just all your things that people absolutely love to just buy. Just all the merchandise that people love to have. So it's pretty exciting.
We got what is it? Spaceballs flamethrowers. You guys ever watch that one? Yeah.
And food-wise, what are we going to be doing?
So the ambiance of Ornery Vets, I think that's a big part of it, right? And so food-wise and like atmosphere-wise, what's the basis of Ornery
You want to
Vets?
talk about the menu?
Well, I mean, you've done the most work.
So we're gonna offer fresh juices, and we're gonna offer infused waters and smoothies made out of local product, and it's all gonna be based on seasonality.
Sure.
So we'll be serving soups and salads. So you'll be able to get a soup and salad and a piece of bread and a beverage to go beside it, and come out with your own little
We're
combo
going to be
meal.
serving soups and salads, and of course,
Yes.
soups and salads go with it.
Soups and salad. Well, as a combo.
Yeah, no.
So you'll be able to walk out a combo right now. So you'll be able to have your own combo, and we're going to be supporting other entities in town.
Sure.
So each day will be like a Zoe's day, or each day will be like a Fluff day, or each day will be like a Jackie O's kind of day.
Oh,
So
okay.
people-
OUN day?
So, well, we haven't talked to OUN yet, but what our hope is that you can come in and have local food, local healthy food, because when you have healthy food, then you have better fuel to fill yourself with,
Right.
from an emotional standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, from a physical standpoint.
Yeah.
And since we'll have a lot of people from the Passion Workshop down here, people with developmental differences don't have as much access to healthy food.
Right.
And we know that all people deserve healthy food. And so we'll be making it all in-house, or we'll be using local restaurateurs to do it with, and we'll be selling all kinds of Ohio products. So
Awesome.
the menu is going to revolve around what guests want and need, and we're going to hopefully encourage them to think local.
No, that would be great, because I need in my rotation between McDonald's, Burger King, and Subway. I need to go ahead and put.
You need to come and get a soup and salad.
Need to come and get a
pour
soup and
coffee.
salad
Get yourself
eventually.
And a
balanced
diet
out.
redo.
Yeah.
Not that I'm telling you what to do. I'm encouraging you.
The
Yeah.
community aspect is of the ultimate importance, that we're not here to compete.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to help other businesses as well. They'll be able to sell their products through us
Wow.
and make a profit, and we hopefully will make enough to pay for our employees and insurances and rent and so on. So
Yeah.
it should all work out.
Yeah.
And busy weekends like Mother's Day and Father's Weekend and all the homecoming and all those other weekends when everybody's coming to campus, everybody sells out and there's lines out the door. Well, this will be an opportunity for people to come here and still try all those things. Because when people come to campus and they've had something and then they go away for 5 years, they want to try to come back and share that with their family or with with the people they went to school with. And so we think we have the right recipe for success. So we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, no, and it sounds promising so far, and it looks great, honestly. So I was surprised when I came in here to see how far along it was, and it looks really good. So
Yeah.
sounds like you guys are putting a lot of work into it, and it's really showing. So I'm excited. I will come and visit when it opens up, and I'll make sure to tell all my friends about it, and on the podcast. So whoever listens to this, but awesome. All right, thanks so much
Appreciate
again.
your time.
Well, you'll be allowed to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be our stand-up comedian.
Yeah,
That's
true.
right.
Yeah. All right. How was it? Did you like it? Did you cry? Did you laugh? Did you think? Did you believe? Because I did. All of those things. Anyways, I appreciate you listening. I apologize that the episodes have been coming out a little bit later, but I'm really, I'm adjusting right now. I'm in an adjustment period, trying to figure out, settling down again in Athens, which is kind of annoying, but it's just a little adjustment period, and I'm gonna start doing it again routinely, regularly, effectively again eventually. So believe in me, and I will believe in you. Anyways, thanks for listening, and I appreciate all those people coming out to talk, because they're just again good characters and fun individuals. So anyways, thanks for listening. I love you, amen. Okay, bye.
All right.
With you.
6 feet.